Hello there, everybody, and welcome to Speaking Life, the podcast where I talk about things that encourage me to become the best version of myself each and every single day. I am your host, David D. Petshower. Today's episode will be a rather quick one, but I wanted to take the time to share an enlightening thought that I had last week. Much to my surprise, when I remind myself of this thought, I feel much calmer and willing to perform anything to the best of my ability. Also, any negative emotions that I may have are much easier to manage. If you wish to feel this way too, then please listen to me. Last week, I spent the majority of my mornings picking up leaves around my house. Even though it was early November, the weather was quite warm, so breaking my back was more tolerable than it could have been. It was still hard work, but tolerable. One day, I was carrying a huge trash bag of leaves, heading towards a place in my neighborhood where I could dump them. It was about a 10-minute walk to get from my house to the place where I could dump the leaves, and another 10 minutes to return. And this is just by walking, with no breaks. During my adventure, I grew exhausted. I had already dumped 2 or 3 bags of leaves, so I had already spent 40 to 60 minutes just walking. I dropped the bag of leaves on the side of the road where I was traversing, and I took a moment to catch my breath. As I allotted the time for my body to rest and for my muscles to regain their strength, I used that time to observe the environment around me. It was late morning, and the environment was refreshingly warm. On the ground was a colorful amalgamation of red, yellow, and orange, with a slight tint of green. The trees that surrounded me appeared animated, with a moderate amount of leaves still hanging on to their branches. Apart from the occasional gust of wind and neighbors passing by in their cars, the environment was quiet. Yet, it possessed an aura that made it impossible for me to deny. Then I looked up at the sky, and all I saw was an endless hue of gray. For some, a sky wearing gray symbolizes sadness, a time where things may look bleak. But for me, seeing the sky's complexion tamed my soul. In that same sky, I saw something that blended my tame emotions with optimism. Behind the clouds, I saw vibrant rays of light piercing the sky and entering my vision. A few minutes later, I saw the sun pushing clouds out of the way to say hello. Despite the less than stellar coating that endlessly stretched above the horizons, the sun still shone high and bright. When I saw the sun that day, I thought of a metaphor for how one can live life. Bear with me as I explain. The sun shines every single day. Some days, the sun will stay visible for a very long period of time. Other days, you will not see the sun at all. However, the sun is always shining. Now, imagine that you are the sun. You are the sun in the sense that every day you wake up and have the opportunity to shine, to live a life that you want to live one day at a time. Some days, you will feel incredible. You will feel proud of yourself for accomplishing certain milestones. I compare this to the sun shining high up in the sky, its light vastly extending to earth for all to see. However, on other days, you will not feel good. Maybe one aspect of your day could have gone better, Or perhaps the day as a whole felt underwhelming. For example, maybe you underperformed for a major test or interview. Maybe you made some poor financial decisions. Maybe something happened that caused cracks to form in your relationships. In my analogy, I dub these unfavorable events the clouds that obscure the sun's rays, or the coming of night that buries the star. When these things happen, please remember this. You still have the ability to continue shining. When the sun is obscured by clouds, does it completely disappear and stop shining? No. Perhaps in our vision, the sun is gone, but it is still there, making the most of the time it spends in the sky. When nightfall comes, does the sun go away forever? No. It simply shines somewhere else before returning to shine again. Throughout our lives, we will face setbacks. Some setbacks will have a greater severity than others. And yet, despite those, you are still here. You are still here, alive and well. Yes, you may not be able to live to the fullest because of setbacks, but more often than not, setbacks are temporary. So please take this piece of advice. Just show up and do what you can, and know that sooner or later, the clouds will move, the night will pass, and you will remain shining brightly high in the sky, just like the sun. That is going to wrap it up for today's episode of Speaking Life. Please take care of yourselves, and I will speak with you guys again soon. Thank you.